Hi there. We've been working on some pretty exciting projects in the last weeks at mogenius, and today we want to introduce you to a new feature called the Network Policy Manager, which allows you to easily configure and manage network policies on your Kubernetes clusters inside the mogenius platform. Now, let's dive right into it and explore the project that we set up for this. It has two namespaces. It's running on a K3s on Hetzner, and one of our services here inside a namespace as an Nginx that is exposing port 80 to an external domain here, to an external hostname. And we can also access this hostname right now, since no network policies are present right now on the cluster. We're going to change that, and we want to control how people can access this hostname and this port, basically. So let's move over to our organization and open the cluster settings. We, as mentioned, we are connected here with a K3s. You can do this with any type of Kubernetes, of course. There's a video on how to connect your own cluster with a mogenius account. We'll link it in the video description below, but let's move on with our existing cluster here. There's a new setting here called Network Policies that takes you to the Network Policy Manager. And before we activate that, let's talk about the concept in the background real quick. We have three core ideas that we're implementing here. The first one is that we are applying default policies whenever you enable the policy management using this button here. And the first policy is that we block all ingress traffic, and the second one will allow all traffic inside the namespace. So those are the default policies deployed each time you activate this. And this gets you to a state where no external traffic is allowed to the services inside your namespace. So you can then define specific network policies to control the port and the protocol that should be allowed by the policy manager. So this way you're always in control over the traffic that is allowed to your namespace, and you can easily understand which policies are in effect by just looking at this user interface. The second concept is templates. So we want to make sure that you define policies once and that you can then reuse them across your controllers and namespaces. And the third concept is labels, which we use to apply the policies in a very easy and understandable way. Now let's look at the namespaces on our cluster. We have two namespaces from the project that we looked at a minute ago. And we want to activate the policy manager for our dev namespace, because this is where our Nginx service is running. So we'll simply enable that right here. And now the two default policies have been deployed. We can see the deny all ingress rule, and we can see the allow namespace communication rule here. And we can see our two controllers, so two deployments for our Nginx and a web app. Now, as the default policies are now enabled, we are expecting the deny all policy to take effect. And if we look at the external hostname and refresh the page, indeed the service is no longer available. So the deny all rule is working as expected. Now we can define a granular network policy that allows traffic to this Nginx service here. We will do this by adding a new policy, and this will take us to a library of existing policies that are managed by a config map. We can also change these later, but right now we just want to search for the HTTP 80 rule here, which is allowing ingress traffic, and we are adding this to our Nginx service. Now let's check back on our hostname, refresh the page, and there we are. The Nginx service is now available again, so we can see that the setup is working. Now, this is a setup where no traffic to our namespace is allowed, except of ingress traffic on port 80 TCP to this Nginx deployment here. We can also manage that from the service page itself. So as a developer, I have visibility over the network policies that are in effect here. And if I have the sufficient permissions, I can also manage this on my own for the namespace that I have access to. So in the settings, there's a new tab for network policies, and we can see that the port 80 network policy here is enabled. We can also remove that, and this will immediately update our host name. So it's now not available again, and now we can simply add it as a developer as well. And of course, you can control the policies that are available for deployment. So you can manage the policy templates right here from the interface by editing existing ones, deleting them if you don't want them, or by adding your own policies to this global config map. Now, to sum it up, the Network Policy Manager is designed to reduce the complexity of network policies for you and to improve the developer experience around that on all your clusters and projects. We're excited to hear your feedback about this, so feel free to take it for a spin and connect your own Kubernetes cluster using our free tier. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we're looking forward to your feedback. Thank you.